This is Alan Abrone with ARA Self-Empowerment Podcast. I want you to do me a favor and go over to YouTube. I want you to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, ARA Self-Empowerment. I also would like for you to go over to Facebook, ARA Self-Empowerment Podcast. I want you to like and I want you to subscribe to our Facebook page, ARA Self-Empowerment Podcast. This podcast is all about community impact over profit. We're all about building up the community and destroying destructive practices. We discuss various topics: politics, sports, religion, you name it. We dive into those topics. If you have a topic you would like for me to discuss, I want you to do me a favor. Reach out to me and I will do my best to bring up the topic and discuss it and diagnose it as my best ability. And so we have a hot topic on today concerning Austin Metcalf, who was unalived, and it's also about Karmelo Anthony, who stabbed him. And so some say allegedly it was murder. Karmelo Anthony says it was self-defense. I did a podcast recently concerning Karmelo Anthony and Austin Metcalf concerning the stabbing. And so I want to do another podcast today. And this is concerning the bond. They lowered the bond from $1 million to $250,000. He was actually released on bond, and now he's under house arrest from what I gathered. And I wasn't going to do another podcast on it, but man, this thing is all over the place in the local media and the local social media, and that has gone national and viral as far as this particular incident. And what's really ironic about it is how you would think that this would be the first European American young man stabbed or who has lost his life, or the first African American male who has stabbed or killed unalive a European American male. Now we know it's not the first time that a European American male has unalived an African or African American male. But for some odd reason, there are so many European Americans or Europeans that are out there under the sound of my voice who just feel like they are the only one who can take life. They are the only one can defend themselves. And so let's jump right on into this topic on today. Let's talk about the lowering of the bond and why was it $1 million in the first place. And I want to throw in a little caveat, probably several, concerning reparations and why so many people are against reparations. And I want to show some type of correlation, because this is why so many people are upset about the lowering of the bond and all these other things that are really upsetting so-called white America. Now, before we dive right on into the lowering of the bond, the various caveats that I said that I would speak about, and why so many so-called white Americans are so upset and so enraged about this. And I want to help you with that. Now, before we jump into about the lowering of the bond, let's get on this white-black thing. You will hear me talking about this so much. I discuss it, and I had to realize it for myself. There is a reason why so many people, especially European Americans, aka white people, want to hold on to the social construct of white and black. And I want to tell you why. Because see, there was a rule, what they call the one drop rule. It has no credence to it or no educational value other than just their made up rule, one drop rule. If you had one drop of so-called black in you or African, you are all black. And so when you look at the precedent that's set there, the definition or the base, let me say that, the base of that, it says that the European or the aka white man is pure. See, let me say something. When you have water, This water, which I need to drink more of. Water. If you put anything inside the water, it alters the water because the water of itself is the base of all liquids. So somewhere in their mind, they are the base of all humanity. It is the so-called white race. So anything that's included with the white race is no longer white. It is black, meaning impure. And the good thing about that for them is that when you have pathology, when you have crime, when you have perversion, homosexuality, rape, divorce, anything bad, anything, it's like having two parents, a mother and a father, and then the mother wants to say that's from your daddy's side. Everything good came from their side. You know, you go out there and you fail a grade, your daddy, that's your daddy's side. Yeah, you make them bad grades because your daddy. You start showing some type of pathology in your mind, whatever. Maybe you get into some fights or bad relationship. Yep, that was your daddy. Get good grades. Oh, that was us. That's us. And this is what happens when you start talking about statistics in America, whether it's incarceration, whether it's violence. You hear black on black crime. Blacks lead in jail. They lead in abortion. They lead in this. But there's really no valid. Those are not valid conclusions. And the reason it's not valid conclusions, how could two races produce something and it only be attributed to one side of a race? How can an African and a European produce a child and the child only have the attributes or the genetics? Because when you're talking about behavior is simply not just through socialization because I was raised in the so-called hood. Behavior is associated with your genetics, your DNA, your mindset, your central nervous system. I mean, your mind, before you become a 3 to 5 year old adult, is an extension of two parents. You know, that's why some people say, can you be born homosexual or born perverted? I used to say that's not true, but then after study, I realized, wow, people can be born with a mind of violence or a mind of perversion or a mind of various things that are that someone would call pathology or abnormal, so to speak, and say, well, hey, that's in their mind. That's true because it depends on your mother and the father. And so when we look at many people that we call blacks in America, black is a social construct. It is a color. So when we start saying black, it alleviates any type of true research to find out what type of individual are we talking about. If you take two dogs and you try to buy a dog, they want to see the papers. They want to look at the genetics. They want to look at the mother and the father to see if there's some type of, issues going on here. What we got to do, is this really a pure breed dog? Is this dog mixed with other dogs? So we can kind of see what type of dog we're dealing with. But see, when you look at a pure African and a pure European and just trace back the ancestry of the continent of Africa, and although I do believe that all races originally came from Africa, but we're talking about over time of migration, diet, listening to God, listening to the devil. And so through evolution, how people change because of who they're listening to, what they're doing. And if you go all the way back to the European people, that is those in Italy, Rome, Greece, France, Britain, Wales, Belgium, all those type of people, you see a high propensity for violence and perversion, same sex and messing with little kids. That's in their tree. That's in their tree. I'm just going to call it like I see it. That's why over 80% of all Africans who were enslaved were raped. And so this is not to say that you are not to be held responsible for your actions or held accountable for, or you should hold yourself accountable for your actions. And it may seem like I'm getting off the subject of the bond lowering and things like this. I have to say this because we need to stop, or they should stop, all this gaslighting and these self-defense terms of saying African Americans are looking for a handout. their victim mindset, looking for something for free, always blaming other people for when they do something. Well, the whole point is you can't identify who you're talking about. How can you say Africa or black people? That's what they're saying. Let me go back. Black people are doing these things when you have not defined race correctly. The very person that you call them black could be somebody related to you. So if black people are doing all these things that you call them black, but they're mixed with some of the same DNA and cousins and uncles that are related to you, wouldn't that be you too? I'm not going to say I never seen, because I hear people saying it all the time. It is so odd how people talk so much black, white, and niggas and hunkies. And I'm not saying I say that, this is what they say. But have you noticed they love to have sex with each other? I mean, all through slavery, you just can't stop having sex with each other. And you want to call people monkeys and whatever you want to call them and eat. They love watermelon. But have you noticed they eat watermelon all the time? Talk about chicken. They eat chicken. It makes me understand, or to realize through, when you study psychology, you begin to see there is a lot of mental health issues within the European American community, because you have to be something wrong with you to say some of the stuff that you hear people say. Here, these people are monkeys, but I guarantee you go sleep with a monkey, won't no baby come out. You cannot produce a monkey. A human cannot sleep with a monkey and let a baby come out. But guess what? Let two humans, I don't care what race, have sex with each other, unless there's something wrong with your libido or something wrong with your army soldiers or something, or your eggs, a baby popping out. A baby is going to pop out. So that means that these are humans. They're just different types of humans. Even a lion and a tiger can mate and create, because they are the tiger community. They're different tigers, but they're still of the tiger community. This is why you have dogs, different dog breeds, but dogs can mate because there are dogs. And so all of this being upset about lowering the bond from 1 million to 2 million, 250,000, let me say that. And all of this upset, let them burn in hell, da, 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 da. And so you wonder, why are they so upset? Well, they're upset because there was a precedent set. The first precedent is that when they made the bond of 1 million, they set the precedent of how valuable a so-called white male life is. 1 million. And when you go and set the value of killing a young African-American male, or shoot him over a taillight, or he didn't comply, he didn't show ID, or I thought he was breaking in my house, so he stepped on my property, I shot him, and then Bunny said at 150, 50,000, or $300,000, something like that, no more than $300,000. It shows you that his value is not that much. You see, you're not on the same value as me. This is why a lot of them are upset about reparations. They don't want reparations paid because they don't want to have to set value to the lives they took. And they'll say all day, I didn't take a life because I never owned slaves. But yet at the same time, you want to boast of freeing slaves. Well, if you didn't own slaves, how you free slaves? You know, we the party that freed y'all. We the party that free. Wait a minute. I thought you said you never owned slaves. So were you in the Civil War? If you never owned slaves, you shouldn't have to pay for slaves. Then if you never was in the Civil War or in the Union, you shouldn't have the right to boast of freeing anybody either then. See, when it's convenient for them, they want to take ownership. When it's not, then they want to say no. And this is why many of them are so upset. When I say many of them, I'm not saying all Europeans or all European Americans. I'm talking about those that subscribe to this so-called white social construct or this white nationalist or we are superior. See, people like to feel superior than other people. I mean, that's something goes back to earliest age 3 and 5. And this is why a lot of people, when they're dealing with psychology, they like to deal with cognitive behavioral therapy. They don't want to go deep into your life or history because they don't want to go deep in the life and history of this country. And I'm going to show you how people like this thing. Many of them just trashing Karmelo Anthony. His family didn't kill the boy or unalive him. Let me say this, unalive him. That was something that happened with Karmelo Anthony and Austin Metcalf. It is amazing how whenever something happens with something that's related to us, meaning African Americans, they paint all of us this way. But when Dylan Roof went into a church and killed up a lot of people, they want to say that was just Dylan Roof. That was just Dylan Roof. That was a lone wolf. I can go down the list of different European Americans who have killed unalive African Americans, innocent African Americans at that. You don't see the rage. Then they want to go back and say stuff like, well, we're not burning down buildings. You don't have to burn down buildings when you have the majority. But when you thought you was losing this country, you sure did invade the nation capital on January 6th. So what you see in the United States of America, that's something that makes you really consider mental health in the United States of America, or something is severely wrong in the mind of many European Americans. I've always thought this because anybody that, and this is not to say all of them did this in the past, but so many did. Anybody that could burn a human being simply because of their skin tone or pigmentation and sit there and watch them burn and just sit there watching has to have a mental problem. They don't want to talk about that, but let you commit a crime. They want to go all in your life from birth and only find bad things. This is what they're doing to Karmelo Anthony. They're only looking for things that indicts him or incriminates him. He walked an old lady across the street. I don't want to talk about it. We don't want to hear about that. But any picture that makes him look like what they call a thug, we want to use that. But let a European American commit a crime and have a flag, a Confederate flag, they want to say that has nothing to do with him committing that crime. That's heritage. He can fly the Confederate flag, the battle flag on the hat or whatever he's doing, and it's all entertainment. It's all about heritage. Karmelo Anthony does the same thing. He's a thug. He's a criminal. He wants to do something. It couldn't be that it was entertaining as well. He couldn't have been just doing that just to be showing off or just whatever. No, you can't do it when you're African American. And so why do they not follow the same plan with the United States of America? The United States of America is a country. Now watch what they say. If you talk about slavery and all the things that happen in America, here's what they'll say. But America just didn't do bad things. Why do y'all just point out the bad thing? What about the good thing America's done? Well, then why do you not follow that same thing when you're trying to indict people? Why do you not look at the good things they have done? That's not how it works in America. See, when you're African American, we only want to know one way, what you did wrong. When you're Europeans, we want to know both, the good and the bad. See, it's a double bind. It's double bind communication, and it's a double standard. Just that simple. And so they are mad that Karmelo Anthony had his bond lowered, but they say Karmelo Anthony is black. And I'm guarantee you, I can almost guarantee it, he doesn't look it. If you did a DNA test on Karmelo Anthony, he's not 100% African. I'm sure Karmelo Anthony has some European in his DNA. So what about that in his DNA? Did some of those genetics or genes or did any of that have anything to do with his behavior? If he's all these bad things, is some of that from y'all DNA from the you? Nah, that don't count, huh? I got it. This is why when you talk about abortions and divorces and the criminal justice system, how do you know who leads in something if you have not did a DNA test on the people that you are putting in this statistic? If you go and say African American leads in incarceration, of the people that you're talking about, how many of them have European DNA? So if they have some European DNA, wouldn't that mean that some of the deviancy is from the European side too? I heard Officer Tatum say, well, he said Kamala Harris wasn't black. What? Kamala Harris is not black. So what is black? Officer Tatum, you're not all black. If that's the case, you're not 100% African. But it's always people like Officer Tatum who marries European American people that talk crazy like that. Tim Scott, he got a white wife, so he talk crazy. Candace Owens, now she trying to come to herself. I don't know if they about to get a divorce or what. Now she trying to rebrand. She trying to back up. I guess they promised her in the house. A seat in the house, and they didn't give one. She thought she was gonna be a house nigga. They got you out there to field, huh? Okay. And so what's going on is that this so-called white rage, so to speak, like I say, there ain't no white race anyway, because that's a social construct. It's because a precedent has to be set. It's like in the movie Django, we're gonna go over here, this hill. We're gonna go over this hill and kill us a nigga. We're gonna make a lesson out of this nigga. See, they have to set a lesson, precedent, because you went and killed a white man, you out of your place. We got to put the fear of God back in them. We don't want them thinking that they can kill us and get away with it. Now I want you to think about that. I'm gonna say it again. We don't want them to think that they can kill us and get away with it. Well, if they don't want us to think that they can kill us and get away with it, what lesson are they teaching us when they don't want to pay reparations to our ancestors? The lesson is we can kill you and get away with it. That's why Donald Trump don't want qualified immunity removed. That's why he don't want you policing the police. That's why he don't want you investigating the police, because he wants you to feel and to know that we could take your life and get away with it. But you can't do that to us. That's what that is. That's exactly what that is. And this is why so many of them are mad. You say, who is them? The ones that feel like they white. Because there is no way you think Barack Obama is black when his mama is so-called white. How is he black? Why is he not white? So the mama just disappeared? So his mama don't count no more. Now I can see if you want to say African American, Asian American, because America is a blended pot based on the definition that America is a continent, and you named it. Okay. And so you can't name all of the people, because if somebody had Cherokee in them, if they had Russian, German, whatever. That's a lot of, you know. I guess you go with the dominant part of it. Just like if you had tea and you made some tea from water, you call it tea. You wouldn't call it water tea, right? I get it, because you're saying that water is the basis, and so wouldn't American be the basis? But no, they said white is the basis. So since white is the basis, whatever put in it, we got to address it them instead of the water, because it's no longer water. See how it works? They're saying they're pure. We're pure, and you're not. We're humanity. You're just a subculture of, not subculture. You're just a species that, some kind of species that kind of just broke off, some mutated from us. That's what that is. And it would be ironic, not saying it's true, is that they were the species that mutated from the true species of the human race of Africa. Would that be something to think about? That'd be weird if we went to heaven and we found out that Europeans actually mutated from Africa. They were Africans too, but something happened. I'm not saying that that's true, but that would be something to think about. It really would. And so when you see all these people talking about Austin Metcalf and Karmelo Anthony, this is really bad mental health. This is just people that needs a psyche valve. A lot of I don't want to call you crazies, but it's a lot of people with some problems. And they love the gaslight, victim mindset, race baiting, looking for a handout, victimhood, all this gaslighting and self-defense mechanisms. This is why so many European Americans, they love to use race baiting and race card and victim mindset, because it helps them to defend what they have lied about. They told their children all these lies, that we worked hard and we didn't look for nothing for free, but these black people that are lazy and they don't know how to have family, they leave their kids. And whoa. But you leave out the part that all these so-called black people are really related to y'all, because a lot of them were raped by y'all. So technically, a lot of these are y'all kids. Mm-hmm. And this is why we have all this confusion within the United States of America, because America created a lot of pathology through rape. You see Jasmine Crockett, who's mad at Donald Trump, and I hate to tell Jasmine Crockett this because I really like Jasmine Crockett. You really are a byproduct of people like Trump, because somewhere down the road, maybe it wasn't a true, but it's more likely than not that you were from the side where they were raping your people. And so a lot of the pathology that you picking up, even though you have a good education with the fake eyelashes and the weaves and all this stuff, you get this because of the issues that you deny that's within you. So in reality, a lot of us as African Americans, we have a lot of healing to do. We have a lot of deliverance to do, a lot of purging. Wow. Because they have created a lot of bastard and whoredoms in our DNA, in our family tree. Man, I know that's a tough pill to swallow, but that's true. This is why we have to have Jesus Christ. This is why you can't pay attention to a lot of this. Black people are the most racist. That's probably true in some degree. And when I say not that they're the most racist, but I'm sure you have some races in you, because if you look at your DNA, if you got some European, yeah, you do. I agree, because it's in their genetics and they forced it upon you. Now, some of it is consensual sex nowadays, but for the most part, it was rape. Yeah, and so they're just upset that the bond was lowered to $250,000. That's because they want to say that a so-called white man's life is very valuable, highly valuable. That's what they want to say. A white man's life is highly valuable, but a black man's life, what they call black, not worth nothing. And whatever. And they want to be able to do it and get away with it. And this is what happened with O.J. Simpson. See, O.J. Simpson took a white woman's life that's valuable. It doesn't matter if she's on drugs, what the woman doing. They want to set a precedent to the world that the white woman is here and the black woman is down here. The white man is up here, the black man is down here. That's what this is about. And that's why they're so mad, because they have to set a precedent. They have to put us in our place, and they have to so-called keep us in our place. That you to know that your life is not valuable like mine. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And so they're hot. They're pissed. It doesn't matter if Karmelo Anthony is free. I mean, not free. If he's guilty or not guilty. If he's found guilty, they will comb the mountains, the hills, the valleys, and even the lakes and oceans until they find him guilty of something. Because they got to set the precedent. They cannot let it go. Yeah. And so you say, well, who are these type of people? These are people full of pride. See, all European Americans are not like this. All Europeans are not like this. But there are a large group of people that are like that. And there's something wrong with them. And it's up here. It's up here. Because if you go and check their DNA and all the people they talking about DNA, you're going to find out that there's a mixture on both. My goodness. And so they're mad about that bond getting lowered to $250,000. They're already saying, no, it's murder. They'll ask questions like, why would he walk to a track meet with a knife? But why would you come to a track meet with a knife? I have this question for many of you. Why do you come in those stores with guns on your hips? We got the police. We got SWAT, security. Why do you feel you need to wear a gun? See, I can answer that quickly because they are the authority. They are the authority when they're not the authority because we're white. You don't need no gun. You don't need no that. They tell him that if they told you to move, who told you to move? What, not the police, not security, not a teacher, but a white student, a white male student is that. You should have just got up and left and it wouldn't be no problem. See, we always have to be compliant. Do what you're told. But then when it comes to them, they stand up and man the scene. Something to think about, huh? Well, I'm going to close this podcast today. I want you to understand this. They mad. When I say they, I'm not saying all Europeans, all European Americans are mad, but bigots are mad. MAGA is mad because they feel like they're superior. We're going to make America great again. We're going to go back to the time when the white man was over the black man. And what we said counts and what they say don't. When we said you so, that's what you are. It's our nation. Make it great again. Make it like that. And so they're furious that you can lower the bar